Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Youth of Today and Adults of Tomorrow. Today I have a guest. Today, introduce yourself, say your name and your age.
Hi, my name is Destiny, and I am 17 years old.
Okay, that's great. I met Destiny through a mutual friend, and she's been closely following my journey, you could say, which I'm very thankful for. So I invited her on the show because I'm very excited. So let's get into the questions already. Um,
Let's get into
yeah, we might have someone join later if they wake up within the time period that we're doing this. But other than that, no other news. Okay.
it.
So the first topic we're discussing is um, how each new generation is more liberal or leftist than the last and what that means for our future. So, as we age, we see that there are lots of differences between the Echo, the Boomer generation, Millennials, Gen Z, and there's a new generation that's coming in. I think they're called Gen Y, but they're babies. Um, what do you think about that? What do you identify as? Are you liberal, conservative, leftist?
Very much liberal. Very much liberal.
Okay. I myself, I used to identify as a liberal, but now I'm more leftist just because
hmm
um with everything going on, liberals believe in more gun control. And if we're going to have a revolution, we need to arm ourselves. And
That is true.
yeah, and as a leftist, I also believe that we have to not only change everything about our system, but destroy the system that we like currently have, that we know of, and recreate a new one.
hmm
So, like personally, have you noticed like any differences between you and any like older generation?
Most definitely. I feel like as time goes on and as things progress, people are starting to be more aware about certain injustices and certain things going on and realizing that it's not right.
Right.
So I feel like, especially our generation, Gen Z, we've seen a lot of it. And, at this point, it just needs to end because it's too far in the future. We've come such a long way with technology and just culture and everything. We've come such a long way. So why are we living by all this stuff from the past? It's not good. It's not healthy whatsoever for our society to grow, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like as we get older, like as life goes on, we notice how these things aren't right and how it needs to change for things to get better for us to really progress.
Right. Do you think, because the reason we're called Generation Z is for Generation Zoomer, we get everything faster than the older generation. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that affects the way that we perceive the world or the way we interact with the world?
Um, I'm not gonna lie to you. I really just had a brain fart. Can you repeat the question?
So, because we're called Generation Z because it stands for Zoomer. We get everything faster than our past generations. Do you think that has an
Mm-hmm.
effect on our perception of like the world or how we interact with the world?
Um, somewhat, somewhat. I do feel like we. How do I say this? How do I say this? I do. I feel like we just expect change more than others, especially more quickly. I mean, Zoomers, but I think we all agree that certain things do take time.
Right.
We have to fight it. You know what I'm saying?
I think because recently when the Black Lives Matter movement really started blowing up in the past week, people were like all of Generation Z was like on it. But I think we're so used to instant gratification. That's why it's been like slowly coming off of it because they're like, okay, if your rights
We've
aren't
been
here,
doing this for a hot little minute, like a
why
week.
we've been
Shouldn't
doing
this
this for a
be
minute,
happening?
try again next year. because I want to go do other regular teenage stuff. The other day, because there's just been so much on the internet and on the news. Yesterday, I went out on a picnic with Anicia. Just
I saw it. You guys look so cute. That dress was so cute, by the way.
thank you. We just need like, because I've been like signing all these petitions and trying to spread as much awareness as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a kid, like I'm tired. So I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. But then, I went recharged. It was like I came back, I was like, all right, let's beat up cops now.
Got
I'm
you.
done taking a break. um and personally, my one of my older siblings is a millennial, and my
Mm-hmm.
mother is a part of the Echo, and my grandma is a boomer. So I personally can see in like almost my everyday life the difference between the generations because my brother, my millennial brother, he's very much a military man. He was in the army, and he voted for Donald Trump, and
That's tea. That's tea.
and I think he just doesn't understand it the same way that Gen Z do. I think Gen Z has always had like grown up in a state of emergency because they're like, okay, like stuff is like because before the past generations, they're like, oh, this stuff isn't really affecting us now, so we'll just put it off. But for Gen Z and for the next generation, we grew up in a state of emergency because it's like all that stuff that they pushed off is happening now. Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
off. And so we're like, we have to fix things like now. Like we can't wait. Like we can't wait for us to grow up to fix things. We have to fix things now. And so I think that's why we're always so vocal on social media. If we get the chance, we're vocal in our schools, in our like town halls, because we're like, you guys waited such a long time that it's affecting your children, and we have no time to grow up to fix these things.
Exactly, exactly. Like just because you push it away does not mean it's not there. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And honestly, it's just not fair. If you know you have the power to fix it or you can do things to help fix it, why put it off? And it's not fair to make other people deal with it when you know there's something that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want I've talked to my friends about this 1,000 times over. I do not want my children raised in a world where they're always in a state of emergency or they feel like they have to fix everything. I want them to be able to enjoy their childhood. You know, it's just not, it wouldn't be fair.
Right. And like people, because also Generation Z, Generation Zoomer, earlier I said we're used to instant gratification. Earlier generations, they were like, oh, things like take time. That's for the next generation. And so now, when we're in the state of like, I can get like all this information at my fingertips, I can do all these types of things. We're like, okay, we're done waiting. Like, we can't wait for the next generation. We want it done now because
Mm-hmm.
it's me right now, not later, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, right now, today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that actually reminds me, I didn't text you this, but I had just found about like this like yesterday, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about. Have you heard about Chaz or um what do they call it? Capitol Hill,
I have not.
Seattle.
I've.
So in the eastbound part of Seattle, the police
Mhm.
have abandoned them, and so they have now declared like it's kind of like a sovereign excuse me, it's kind of like a sovereign state right now where the people are kind of self-governing, quote unquote,
Mhm.
and they're self-policing and whatever, and it's so beautiful. They have like this big like Black Lives Matter on the streets, and there's all this like art everywhere. There's free medics and free food and free water, and it's just very beautiful. And I think in Seattle they're doing the test, right? Like, can we make this work? If we reform, defund, or get rid of the police, will that
Mm-hmm.
work? Are we going to be more safe than when the police are around? And I just thought it was so interesting and it was so beautiful. There were people like everywhere dancing in the streets. There were these big memorials. Because usually when people put up memorials, the police like to take them down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, it was gorgeous to look at. Like, what are your opinions on it? Now that I've told
I,
you.
I think it's absolutely amazing. Uh, self-governing. Okay, with self-governing, I think it can go good, but you also have to be very careful because some people don't really have it together.
Right.
But I feel like as long as the vast majority of people, have common sense, know how to act, and are really like about keeping things safe, keeping things structured, as long as everybody recognizes that structure is still needed, just not the one that we have, I believe it can absolutely positively work. I think it's amazing.
I think Chaz is both like dangerous and really good because if one thing goes wrong in Chaz, then the news or the government will like take it and run with it. They're like, see, this is what happens when you don't have the current system
That
that we
was
have
good.
right now. And
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be like, no, like one bad thing happened. I mean, it's gonna like we're still working out the kinks. You only give us a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think it's like I think it's a little bit too quiet. I'm kind of scared about it because why did the police like suddenly decide to, I feel like I feel like
Shut up.
they're in the eye of the storm right now.
Mm.
I don't want to speak it into being, but knock on wood, it's not gonna happen. But I just feel like it's a little bit too quiet in Seattle.
God.
But otherwise, I think
Oh.
Cass is beautiful. I think what they're doing there is so great. I love it. I wish, like, it just, when I was looking at it, me and my best friend were looking at it, we both were talking about how it reminded us of Japan. Because if you've ever seen any like pictures or clips of Japan, there's always like people walking down the streets and dancing, and there's like food vendors and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
um, and as we know, Japan has like not even less than 10 reports of people dying at the hands of the police in all of the year of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And people like to say that, oh, it's because they have less people, but if we take the percentages, you can see that the United States police kill a lot more people than they do in any other country by percentages alone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that we're done with talking about Chaz in the first topic, let's move on to the next one. And why do you think Generation Z is more likely to throw themselves in life risking such situations rather than be in safe situations?
Uh, I basically would tie it back to what we talked about earlier. We see that things aren't right and they need to change immediately. We can't wait. It's been going on for too long. So I feel like we're way more daring. It's like whatever needs to be done, whatever action needs to be taken, we're gonna take it
Like,
because it has to get fixed immediately.
why do you think Generation Z is more likely to throw their life away? Because people like to, like, we have lots of self-deprecating or suicidal humor that lots of older generations don't understand. Why do you think we have such this uh, warped view of life?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know.
I would go out on a limb and say, like, Generation Z, lots of us are like depressed or have anxiety. And
Very true.
yeah, and it's like generational trauma. I think we've always like had this like life of impending doom.
Targets on our backs.
Right. So we're like, if we don't die now, we're gonna die later anyway. it's like a kind of what's the point kind of lifestyle.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then lots of people say like Generation Z like wants to die anyway, so they'll die for a good cause. Um, I don't think we actually want to die because we like lots of people say they don't want to commit because they're worried about their friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're such an empathetic but depressed generation where we're always thinking about everybody else but ourselves. And that's why we're always willing to throw our life away in these kind of situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's so interesting to me, but at the same time, it's like sad, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's sad, but it's kind of,
It has a good side to it somewhat.
yeah.
Somewhat.
Okay. Why do you think Gen Z pursues more entrepreneurial jobs rather than jobs that our parents or grandparents would pursue? So, like starting
Oh.
businesses, art.
So personally, when you sent me this question, my mind for me automatically went straight to women. I mean we see it all the time. Little racist white boys make jokes about it all the time, how women's jobs are supposed to be in the kitchen and taking care of the kids. And I just feel like a lot of us just want more for ourselves. We don't want to fit into that narrative. I mean, not all parents, but I feel like our parents have taught us more now than ever that it's important to be your own person, do your own thing, be independent. And I feel like that's really gotten through to a lot of us, and we just don't want the same anymore. We're tired of seeing the same thing.
I think we're afraid of being under somebody else's authority because like we want to run our own lives. We want to have a life that we're like happy with. I like
Mm-hmm.
you won't catch me dead in a 9 to 5. Like I'll take my little teenager jobs, you know, like at a retail store or something. But if I'm in my 30s and I'm still working retail at like Aeropostale, go ahead and take me out because I you won't catch me dead. I see a lot of people saying they want to be like farmers, like because we have such like a small percentage of farmers in our country, but I
Mm-hmm.
realized that lots of our generation want to live that simple lifestyle because we live in such a political and
It's so hectic.
it's so hectic in our world today. And we're like, okay, we're tired. I want to have chickens and goats and cows, horses, and like recently I've been my school life hasn't been great. My grades haven't been great. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like look into being a flower farmer. And I'm serious
Mm-hmm.
about it.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope. But I
Right?
feel like this also ties into why Gen Z like doesn't too much care about their lives, because I mean, like we said, it's always so hectic. There's always a target on our backs, and it's like for a lot of people, especially when you're going through like depression. I myself, death feels like, just at last, finally peace. You know?
Mhm. It's like because also we've seen a lot in like TV where our main character like they suddenly get fired from their job because their boss doesn't like them or they need to decrease the employee rate because they don't have enough money. I think we have that instinctual fear where it's like they could fire me at any day and it could ruin my life. I want to be in a position where you can't fire me, I can fire you. You know, they
I
want to
remember
have
that.
financial stability in the sense that I don't want to work a regular job. I want a business that'll like that isn't super popular, but it pays for my bills, gets me
Mm-hmm.
feeds my 100,000 animals.
Mm-hmm. Got you. A lot of us just want to be masters of our own destiny, you know?
Because lots of people like to say, older generations like to say that we all like to think that we're special or that we're different from everybody else. I don't think we want to be different. We just don't want to be carbon copies.
Mm-hmm.
Individuality is so ingrained into our being because older generations have realized that they feel like nothing, and so they've written TV shows and movies and books about being individual and special, so that us, the new
Mm-hmm.
generation, could feel that individuality and feeling special and like
Exactly.
able to express ourselves.
Because change is needed. Change is needed to grow. That's right for society, for just an individual. Change is needed to grow.
Right. And I think that's why like being an entrepreneur is so much more seductive, you might say, to Generation Z rather than working an underling job, you know, being an assistant, working a 9 to 5, being in a cubicle. Oh my gosh, I have never seen a cubicle before, but I do. If I do, I'm gonna have a heart attack because it's
Mhm.
it's like people want to live their lives like a movie. It might not
Very
be
much so.
like it might not be exciting all the time, but you know, there are moments where it's fun, it's exciting, it's full of like love and stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we watched our parents do these horrible, like underling jobs. And we're just like, I never want to be like that.
Mm-hmm. I remember that's like the main. I never really talked to my mom about it because I didn't want to offend her, but I remember she was like working this office job, and I used to live in Jacksonville, and I live in Georgia with my dad, and I was like, I gotta move out of this town because it seems like all there is like office jobs, and I never want to live like that.
Right.
I don't want to be cooped up in some cubicle all day and then come home stressed out and do the same crap every day. I never want to live like that. I want my life to be at least somewhat exciting. I want to have a job doing what I love, you know?
And also
I
that,
never want to be miserable. I mean, there's going to be bad times, of course, but I don't want to live a miserable life.
and I think that also feeds into because that just reminded me of my mother. Why Generation Z are so much less likely to have kids. I have met so many people who say kids disgust me. Like
So
they don't believe in having kids. Me myself, I don't want my own kids. Like I have told
I want
every
to adopt.
right, I want to adopt because I've like people have told me, oh, you're gonna change your mind when you get older. Hopefully not, because I don't want my own kid because there are so many kids who deserve homes in the adoption agency or so many foster kids who need good foster parents.
Mm-hmm.
And like, why should I just add to the like growing population problem when I can just adopt a kid and give it a good life, just like any other child? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of. I don't want to say don't have your own kids. I'm totally like pro-choice. Have your own kids if you want to. Don't have your kids if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But why would I add to the problem? Having kids to me is counterproductive. Um, I don't know if that sounds weird, but um,
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
and like also like I don't want to have a kid too early, you know, like uh, I don't want to have a kid in a point of my life where I'm not financially stable and I can't like provide.
Oh my God. I've talked about this so many times. If it really frustrates me when people have kids and they're not mentally stable and they're not financially stable. You're putting that child into a whole situation that they can't do anything about, that they can't fix, but they're going to get all the consequences from it. And how is that fair in any way, shape, or form?
Mm-hmm.
It's not right.
Like my mother, she had 5 kids. She had her first kid, my oldest brother, when she was a teenager, and she had me when she was 24. And
Mm-hmm.
like we're all growing up, and like as we all grow up and move out, my mom is becoming more financially stable. Um, but like I'm not gonna sit here and say that my mom shouldn't have had me. I mean, maybe, but you know, I like sometimes I try to imagine what my life would be like if my mom had me like a little bit later, or if she had my brother like when she was in her 20s or her 30s. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like personally my life isn't bad. Like I know like some some of my friends have um worse situations than I do, but I can't help but think about like people who do have their kids too early, and their kids suffer the consequences because of it. When I lived in North Carolina, we lived in it wasn't that ghetto, but it was still a low like income neighborhood. And there was this one kid, he took care of all of his siblings because his mom didn't really care, and he always came over to our house and he ate dinner with us, had breakfast with us. He was my oldest brother's best friend, and and he was like, my mom made sure that he was doing right in school and stuff. And then when we left, he just ended up like selling drugs. You know, it's like if you don't have a stable parent who can take care of you, you can get into these types of situations.
That absolutely breaks my heart. Like situations like that is probably like the main reason why I'm just so adamant about whenever I get kids to make sure that their childhood is amazing. Cause like growing up, like my mom was a single parent and it was always just me and my brother. Like at the age of 5, like I fully knew how to take care of myself, cook for myself, wash clothes, and I didn't get time to be a kid because then like when I was 7, my mom had my little sister and she was once again still like a single mother. So I'm at 7 raising a whole baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I know it's not necessarily her fault because she had work to do, but I really wish there were certain moments that I could have been able to enjoy. I just don't think it was fair that I had to become a parent at 7 years old.
And we can't only like say it's like we can't say that it's our parents' fault. You know, they decided to keep us, and like whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, only the universe knows. But we also have to put some of the blame on the system, the government, because why do they make it so difficult to be a single mom?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they make it so difficult for poor people to climb the ranks, to jump tax brackets? Why is it so difficult to do that? They love to
Mm-hmm.
keep the poor people under and to keep the rich getting richer. And it's such a and it's a system that likes to generalize black and poor as the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it so much harder for not only single mothers but black single mothers to have a hard time. Because like sometimes, like, have you ever like heard your mom say like, I got these bills, I got this for your school, I got this for your like doctors, I can't catch a break. Black mothers, particularly single black mothers, can't catch a break.
I mean, the system's already set up to where women get paid less. I mean, it's hard for black people, period, to get a job. I mean, being black in America is hard. Being a woman in America is hard. And having them both combined is just the ultimate setup.
Like they say, the most disrespected person in America is the black woman. Um, Now we're gonna end this on one last note. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what does your perfect future look like? It can just be based around one thing or everything, but what does it look like to you?
My perfect future. I would just love to live in. It's not realistic. I realize that, or this is going to take a very long time to get there. But if I just wish that everything could work harmoniously, you know, I just wish the presidents would act right, the people in power would act right, wealth was distributed, you know, throughout the system. People could do better for themselves and have better without pulling teeth and clawing and dying for it. I just, just wish things were better. You know,
Mm-hmm.
things were equal, like they should have been a long time ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna end it on that note. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Disney, for joining me today. Um,
Thanks for having me.
and I would like to thank everybody for watching or listening wherever you find this, okay? Because it is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. Um, by the time this is out, uh, the next chapter of my book, Our American Dream, will be out.
By
So
the way, the first chapter was so good. I read it. It was so good.
thank you. So go ahead and
Mhm.
check that out. All the links are in the description of this YouTube video. If you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music, head over to my YouTube channel at Babyface1115 and go to this video and find the link wherever. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I will stop recording.